As many of you know, Bobby Knight died this past week. I always hated Bobby Knight growing up. I thought he was arrogant, and I thought he was tough and didn't have any balls and just acted like a tough guy all the time, and I just wasn't a fan. I was always a Purdue fan, and for those of you who don't know, Purdue and IU have a huge rivalry, so I just never liked Bobby Knight. I had played for too many basketball coaches who thought they were Bobby Knight and tried to emulate his every action, every move, and thought that having discipline as a coach or disciplining your team was just screaming at them and acting a fool and making their life hell. Because they want to be tough guys too. But never liked the guy until I saw him when Trump started running for president, and I saw him go off in a couple interviews on people about Trump. It kind of won me over just because he wouldn't go along with the system. I thought it was funny. That's really why I like Trump. One of the biggest reasons is you can say whatever you want about Trump, his personality, his policies, but you can't say that dude isn't funny. Like, he is maybe the most, I don't know if it's intentional or unintentional, but he's certainly one of the funniest people that ever lived. I just don't know if it's on purpose or not. He says some funny stuff. Anyway, that said, also another reason I'm saving some of my stories and some of the episode stuff I want to talk about is I'm having trouble getting my YouTube channel monetized. I have more than double, I think almost triple the required followers. I have triple the required watch hours, I guess, and it's just a little game they play to make you jump through a bunch of hoops to keep from paying you, I guess. Like, I can't wait to get my first $5 check from YouTube for my views, but I posted a video this week. I'm sure you guys saw on my channel, or you saw it somewhere, maybe not on my channel, where Theo Von and Dana White went off on Peloton, the bicycle company or exercise bike company, which was hilarious. I posted that, like a 3 or 4 minute video, just because I thought it was funny, not because I thought I would get a lot of views, or, I put it on my Twitter also. I don't get paid from that, just like I don't get paid from YouTube yet. Had a bunch of people saying, "Oh, you're just trying to steal his views." Like, I'm not trying to steal his views. I thought it was really funny. And that video alone, I think, is at 90,000 views and I think 5,000 watch hours or something crazy like that. So that alone put me over the, over the line for what you need to monetize your YouTube channel. So I'll be stealing other people's content as often as possible, as long as I don't get copyright strikes. Thankfully, there was no strike on that one. They said that the publisher allows you to use that, so I'm going to use that to my advantage. Maybe I'll be like these idiots that who act like the first time they've ever heard the song Thriller, and it's just them going oh as they listen to Thriller, as if they've never heard it before. Those guys get like 5 million views with their little reaction views, or reaction videos rather. So I think I'm going to start doing reaction videos too, with just me bobbing my head and saying it's the first time I've ever heard the national anthem. Back to Bobby Knight. Like I said, he died a week or so ago, maybe a little bit longer. But I actually, a lot of people don't know this, I was offered a tryout with IU through a friend of an assistant coach who saw me play in a 3-on-3 tournament when I was 18 years old. And I mean, they didn't offer me it's not like a Schaub story where they offered me a spot on the team. Just one of the assistant coaches said he had heard really good things about me. Somebody seen me playing a 3-on-3 tournament. He couldn't believe that I wasn't being recruited, out of high school almost at all. And he wanted to know if I'd be interested in trying out to play at IU as a walk-on and possibly a scholarship player if I was good enough. And I just told him I really wasn't interested. No offense, but I just didn't think I would do well, playing for Bobby Knight, just with the tactics I heard he employed over the years. Which leads me to a hilarious story that I'm going to share with you guys about Bobby Knight. I was playing in some sort of, league. I used to be, as I've said before, pretty good at basketball. So I would get recruited by people all the time to play in these little rec leagues, with a bunch of adults who shoot threes all the time and want you to rebound for them and play defense while they shoot nonstop. But I would get recruited to play in those by everyone and their brother all the time, and I would usually turn them down, but every now and then somebody would catch me at the right time and I would agree to play, for them, or play in their league team, and then I would play one game and stop playing because all they did was shoot and want me to rebound, and I wasn't interested. So I was playing one night with a really good team. Somebody hit me up and said it was the men's A league, so it had to be good, up in Carmel in Indianapolis, which is where the rich people live. The fake rich people in Indianapolis. And I went up there to play, and I noticed this guy that was on my team looked a little familiar, but he was really, really good at basketball. Like he was a guard, about 6'2", but he could really shoot. And guys that play in college or play at a high level, when you are playing with someone else who's played at a high level, just by the way they run off screens, by the way they set screens, just by the way they play defense, by the way they create space for you when you're trying to move defensively. There's all kind of little things, like by the way they block out. There's just things they teach you at the collegiate level or the pro level that you don't learn in high school, and so you can usually identify another guy who's played at a high level. It's kind of probably like jiu-jitsu if you start rolling with a guy who you can tell is really good right off the bat. So I'm playing with this guy, and he hits about 7 or 8 threes in a row, and we're just killing this other team. And so I think this was after my first year to junior college over in Illinois. I don't know, so I was probably 19. But he came up at halftime and talked to me. He said, "Where do you play at?" And I said, "Oh, I'm still in school." Or he said, "Where did I play?" I said, "I'm still in school." I said, "I just finished my freshman year." And he goes, "Oh, really?" He goes, "Where are you going to go?" Because, junior college, you will play for a year or two, and then you transfer to hopefully a bigger Division I school. And I said, I'm talking to Wisconsin right now, a lot of schools, I'm not sure. I said, "Where did you play at?" And he kind of looked almost offended when I said it. And he said, "I'm Todd Leary." And I was like, okay. I knew the name, but I didn't know how. And I was kind of thinking about it for a minute. He goes, "From IU?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, okay, I got you. I remember you now." He was never a starter there, I don't think, but he did against Duke one year in the NCAA tournament. IU was down like 15 points, and he hit like 4 or 5 threes in a row during scrub time, and it brought him back within a few points, and they almost came back and won. So that was his claim to fame, I think, pretty much. But I knew then who he was, and it explained, why he was so good at basketball. Even though he sat the bench a lot of times for IU, those bench players are better than most people you'll ever meet in your life at basketball at that level. So, and the NBA level's unbelievable when you play with guys. I've played against guys who couldn't barely get on the court in the NBA, and they would score 40 points on me in college. It was crazy. So anyway, we're talking, and I said, I had actually talked to an assistant coach a year ago about trying out for IU, and I always wondered if I made a mistake. I said, but I had heard a lot of horror stories from other players about playing for Coach Knight, And he says, "You have no idea, man." He said, "No idea." We were talking, and I asked him, I said, "What's the worst thing he ever did to you up there?" He goes, "I couldn't even rank him." I said, "Well, give me one." And he said, "Well, how about my freshman year, first practice of the year, or first, they kind of break the rules in college. They say there's official practice time, and then they have open gyms, which are they're supposed to be optional. They're not optional, just like the optional workouts and the optional staying over the summer and playing and doing private workouts all summer is not optional, just like everything's not optional. You actually have to be there. That they give you your optional study halls, your optional private workouts. It's ridiculous. Anyway, they break the rules a lot. So he said it's his freshman year, first practice, and there's 5 or 6 pizza boxes in the center of the court at Assembly Hall, which is their big, 15,000 seat arena. I guess that's where they were practicing that day, and 5 or 6 pizza boxes sitting out there, and he's real curious and gets ready to go over and open one just to see what they're doing on the center of the floor. And one of the senior players said, "Todd, no, don't touch those." And he goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know." He said, "I just thought somebody had left him there. I was going to move him." He said, "Just don't touch it." And so he goes, "What's in there?" He goes, the other player says, "I don't know, but I guarantee it's not pizza." And he was kind of thrown off and said, "Okay." So keep in mind, first practice he's ever played for Bobby Knight. He's so excited. So Bobby Knight comes walking in, calls everybody to the center of the court, tells one of the players to open up all the boxes. So the player opens up 6 or 7 pizza boxes that are full of several piles of dog shit apiece. Just giant piles of dog shit, and he said a few that were piles of human feces as well. He said he could tell there's obviously a difference. He was really curious where he got the human feces from, but he had an idea that Coach Knight wasn't maybe using the toilet at home for a few days. So he said just, 40, 50 piles of shit in these boxes laying, in the center circle of the court. And Bobby Knight looks at all the players and said, "This is how you guys played last year?" This is what it reminded me of. This is how bad you guys stunk. So you guys want to play like this? And now you're going to play in it. I told you I was going to make you pay for the way we finished last year, and now it's time to pay. So he tells them throw the basketballs out there and says, get started on whatever, 3-man weave, whatever the drill is, the first drill they start. No one's really laughing at this point. The guys that have been there before realize he's serious. The freshmen are kind of shocked, but they don't want to get in trouble. So I guess the first time down the court, the Todd Leary kid jumps over the pile of boxes of, shit, because he doesn't want to run through them or slip and fall. And he says, Bobby Knight blows the whistle, tells everybody to get on the line, which means that you're going to run sprints. So everybody's got to go run up and down the stadium steps 3 times or whatever it is. They had to run sprints, so they run sprints for 3 minutes straight, just completely exhaust them. And Bobby Knight says to him again, I told you guys, if you want to play like dog shit, you're going to play in dog shit. He said, you guys had better not even acknowledge it's there from this point on in practice. Get out there and run the drill. So from that point on, I guess every play, every diving for a loose ball, every time down court, guys were stepping in dog shit. They were carrying it, around the court. They were, diving into it, going for loose balls. They had it all over them. He said at the end of a 3-hour practice, every single guy's shoes, jerseys, pants, hair, face had dog shit on it. He said it was the most ridiculous thing he's ever done in his life. And you weren't allowed to in any way, like wipe it off. You just had to play in it. Like you weren't allowed to, if there was a pile of it on the ground and you in any way tried to avoid it, everybody get back, and I guess they were going to run up and down the stadium steps again with dog shit all over them. So I knew at that point I had made the right decision not to go to IU play basketball, because I wouldn't be doing that. I actually almost beat up my my college coach. That'll be a whole probably double episode of the McCorkle Minute when I tell you the story about my college basketball coach, who was a real prick. But I got revenge on him for over 20 years. So it's still ongoing to this day, actually. It's been a long time, but he still gets a few surprises here and there. But that was my Bobby Knight story. I thought it'd be a classy way to remember the man by letting everyone know that he used to make his players practice in dog shit. I actually saw Damon Bailey at Disney World. You guys probably don't remember him either, but he was an Indiana high school superstar, all-time leading scorer in Indiana, whatever. But he went to IU. I actually ran into him in Disney World just randomly years later, like when he wasn't playing anymore. And I asked him if he was Damon Bailey, and he was so excited to get recognized because it'd been a long time since anybody knew who he was, I guess. This is when I was in the UFC, so I guess I was more famous than him at this point, so that seemed to impress him a little. At least I like to think it did. So we talked for a little bit, but I told him, I said, I got to ask you something. I heard a story once about some pizza boxes, and he said, with dog shit in them? Yeah, that happened. That happened more than once. He said that was Knight's favorite way of starting the season each year. So he confirmed it for me, so that was a crazy story. And the first thing I thought about when I saw that Bobby Knight died is all the young, poor 18-year-old boys he had ran through dog shit in his years. Which, come to find out, isn't the best. That's what I've heard anyway.